I'm just sat here thinking, isn't it marvellous that the world's biggest fight, Fury versus Wilder, is going to happen, and that smug little tosser Eddie Hearn has nothing to do with it at all. He has nothing to do with the world's biggest fight, or his little puppet on a string, the fighter he's got. They're not involved in the biggest fight the world has ever seen, between the two biggest heavyweights on the planet. The two most controversial, most outspoken heavyweights out there. Both over 6'6". Both talkers, one Brit, one American. Isn't it marvellous that this fight's going to happen? And little Eddie ain't got nothing to do with it. He is boiling. First he said it's not going to happen, now he said it's nearly done. Whoop, 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 whoop. Tosser! We're coming for you, baby!
They're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie. I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Next year, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of Mixed Combat Radio live every day on YouTube, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK on YouTube. Podcast form obviously on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to help support the movement. You can't tell right now if you're listening or obviously watching on YouTube with the way it's formatted right now at this point, but we just renovated this entire studio. Thank you to everyone on Patreon. If you want to get a look at what the studio looks like right now, head over to our Instagram. We have a picture of it up right now, Mixed Combat Radio. And if you want to see a before and after video, head over to Patreon. Like I said, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. And we have tons of news to get to, obviously, today. So, and before I do, I want to do some quick housekeeping items, so to speak. If you want to be a part of this in any way, shape, or form, email me at mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. is extremely helpful if you do it that way, just so I have a sort of concise place to go for everything that is business-oriented for this site. Other sort of news, we are in desperate need of a social media director in some form or fashion. So if you have any idea how to work Instagram, and basically all we need is somebody to work a reposting app, hit us up on that email. It's extremely useful and helpful. Thank you to everyone that's done that. Thank you to everyone on Patreon because, again, like I said, complete studio renovation. It's just been awesome to get that done. That's why we weren't on yesterday. Rob in the chat saying, I want to Skype in. And I know we do not have a Skype line at this point. Again, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. If you want to do like Cash App, Mixed Combat Radio, same thing. It's okay. But before we get to all the news, one last housekeeping. Everyone in the chat, quick shout out. Fat Apples, Jonathan, Lord Jacob, Rob, a.k.a. Rob over there at TBV, Jonathan, Bayside Boxing, Rabisky, The Prospect, Fat Apples, Rick, MB, Bomani. Who else? I believe that's it. Eric Rosas. Who else? I believe that is it for everyone right now. Quickly shout out to Real Nija and Castle Hill Gill, who are pound for pound supporters over there on Patreon. But let's get to obviously all the news of the day, because like I've said, we were gone for a day, so obviously news piles up. We were gone all weekend, didn't have championship rounds again because of the studio renovations. So we've had just a lot of news sort of pile up. So it's going to be I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible to get to callers again. Call-in number is 323-870-4051. Call in. We're going to take callers right after we deal with all the news of the show. You can give your opinions and all that. Kyle in the chat, yo, what's up, Kyle? Hope you're doing well. But let's get to all of the news, because obviously you heard in the clip beforehand with Tyson Fury, sending some shots over to Eddie Hearn. It's sort of known that Deontay Wilder is going over to Belfast to do the live commentary for the Tyson Fury card. Showtime has been advertising it because they're obviously going to be streaming that fight on their YouTube channel and Facebook channel. We're going to get to streaming, obviously, with the Joseph Diaz and Jesus Rojas fight, and we're going to get to that later. But here's my take on the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, him going to Belfast, all that. I think the fight's happening. I think all signs are pointing to the fight happening. I know there are some out there that definitely don't think that think this is a major troll job, or it's all smoke and mirror to sort of give Tyson Fury hype for his fight right now. And I don't really... I can obviously see that, but I really don't see anything pointing to that right now. I just don't. Wilder heading over there, this is just too much on Wilder's side that is going into it. If this was predominantly Tyson Fury and Frank Warren talking about this, and you didn't have it so much from the Wilder side, I think we would, at least I would be more skeptical of it happening later this year. But I think it's happening. I 100% think it's happening. Now, it's one of those where it definitely could not, but in my opinion, brief take on it, I think it is. And, I don't think it's the biggest fight in boxing to make, but I think it's a big fight. It definitely is. It's one that could at least do 200,000 pay-per-view buys, in my opinion. It does well, I think. So it's definitely one that I think all parties are not looking past in any sort of way. But let's move over to some other news from a at least former big-time star in pay-per-view draw, Manny Pacquiao. And this came out Friday night, I believe, right after we did our show. And, it said that Bob Arum was going to fly to the Philippines to meet Manny Pacquiao, sort of discuss what's next for him, even though, obviously, Bob Arum does not have any promotional rights to him at this point, from my understanding of it. And then it sort of just kept devolving from there. Quick little, not dramatic reading. Sad. It's sad. It's okay. It's okay, Bobby. Arum told the Manila Bulletin, the meeting was very cordial and informative. We know what he wants. He wants to fight this year and 2 more next year, and then sayonara. And also, quickly, I'm wondering if that's how you actually spell sayonara. Very interesting spelling. But keep going from Pacquiao's side. Where is it? Here we go. A member from Team Pacquiao spoke to the Philippine Star and said, nothing was sealed. It was really a simple visit. Oh, damn. Bob Arum reiterated that he's willing to help in any future plans of Manny Pacquiao, but nothing was finalized. It's okay. It's okay there, Bobby. We know Bobby really wants Manny Pacquiao back, and I don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors of Eddie Hearn and DAZN approaching him. MB saying, I've never seen sayonara written down before. Yeah, me neither. That's another thing. I was like, I really can't say that's how you cannot spell sayonara, but I 100% cannot say that I've ever seen it spelled down. That is absolutely true. But digressing to Bob Arum and Manny Pacquiao, definitely let me know in the comment section below in the live chat what you think is going to happen with Manny Pacquiao. Is he going to Eddie Hearn? Is he sticking with Bob and ESPN? Is he going to Showtime? I've heard a lot of rumors about him being approached by Showtime in some capacity. I don't know. I definitely think that this is one of those situations where anything is possible. I think Manny Pacquiao is in his point in his career where I think all options are available. I think everyone sort of has something for him. Like Eddie Hearn has Amir Khan. That is a fight that Manny Pacquiao would be interested in. Obviously, Bob Arum has guys like Vasily Lomachenko and others that Pacquiao could be interested in. I think even a Oscar could, round up somebody. I think it's possible. I just don't know which one's the most likely outcome for Manny Pacquiao heading into 2019. But I definitely think he takes the rest of the year off. It makes no sense for him to come back, sooner, so to speak. But moving on to some breaking news right before the show started, as usual, and as MCR tradition. Not really groundbreaking news, but by way of Dan Rayfield saying that Sergey Derevchenko versus Daniel Jacobs, which was originally announced to be at Nassau Coliseum for November 10th, has now been officially moved, at least to his knowledge, to October 27th at Madison Square Garden in New York. And it says the Hulu Theater, and I'm unaware of MSG. Is that the small venue or the large venue? Please, anyone in the tri-state area or have any knowledge of it, let me know. But just curious to see that move. I think it's probably the smarter move overall, especially if it's in the smaller arena. You can sell out that for premium ticket price. And plus, I think just it makes more sense. Like Nassau, even though I think it's been rebuilt and it's a nice venue now, MSG just makes more sense geographically, promotionally for Daniel Jacobs versus Sergey Derevchenko. Just my honest opinion about it. And I also love that there's a legitimate debate in the chat right now about how you spell sayonara. Interesting. A lot of people thinking that it's has a Spanish origin. I have no idea, to be honest, but it's interesting. Bayside Boxing saying the small venue. See, I think that's smart. I think it's a smart move to put it in. What is that? Like max 5 or 6? I think they extended it recently. But I think at max you can do like 6,000, maybe like 5,500. I think that's perfect. And again, we're gonna probably up the ticket price per ticket, and you can actually fill out the arena. So that's what I think. Rob is so defensive in the chat today. I don't know what's up his ass. It's okay, man. It's okay. But talking about, is Hooker from the tri-state area? I'm trying to remember. Something I'm not going to Google. But Top Rank versus DAZN, again, something I've been talking about. That sort of battle between these two companies, these two networks, or I should say ESPN versus DAZN, and Top Rank and Matchroom sort of being the figureheads of it, so to speak, of that battle, the pawns in that battle, so to speak, for the new streaming paradigm of boxing. Andre saying, "What do you do, Matt? Love the new studio setup." Thank you, Andre. Can't wait to have Info Joe here, Santiago, Fern, JP, etc. for live fight chats. That'd be fun. Definitely a lot better than what it was. If you don't know what it looked like, go to Patreon because it looked awful, and now it looks awesome. So salute to everyone on Patreon. But digressing, Top Rank beating out Matchroom for the purse bid versus Maurice Hooker versus Alex Saucedo. Most likely going to be in Oklahoma City now, November 16th or 17th. Purse offer was $1.6 million. The Matchroom offer is 1.5. And per the WBO, that's a 75-25 split. So Hooker's about to get $1.2 million. And Saucedo, even at the 25% split, is getting $400K. And I put that in perspective. And again, maybe box fans don't understand this as much. the juxtaposition. But Demetrius Johnson, the UFC, the longest reigning champion in UFC history, his last fight got paid a guarantee of $380,000. $20,000 less than what Saucedo is going to make as the B-side 25% split in this matchup. So regardless of, before we get into, the fact that ESPN beat out DAZN in this situation, purse bids and these two entities having this big of a budget in the sport is going to lead to a lot of these guys getting massive paydays, gigantic paydays. Maurice Hooker versus Alex Saucedo a year ago would have got half of this if it came in a purse bid. Right? Like Maurice Hooker with Rock Nation and Saucedo is really a nobody. You think they would have, or let's say a year ago, not with Saucedo, more so with Top Rank not being aligned with ESPN, you think they would have had this? You think with HBO's backing, they would have put out $1.6 million for a purse bid, $1.5 million respectively for both of them? Damn. Salute to both of them because they're getting paid, first off, so salute to that because before, like I said, we get into ESPN beating out DAZN, I think that's an underlying fact we have to at least, like, golf clap to. Like, good for the industry right now that we have these players right now because these guys are getting paid. Now, digressing to ESPN versus DAZN, this is not good for DAZN. I think it's not the end-all, be-all to lose Maurice Hooker to a rival network for his first title defense. It's definitely not great, but let's put it in perspective. They were able to put Maurice Hooker versus Alex Saucedo on maybe like the October 20th card. That might be pushing it, though, time-wise for Saucedo because he took a big beating against Lenny Z, which, speaking of that, head over to our video, which we did, or at least I did, yesterday and put out because we didn't do a show, but I want to put out some content. The top 10 boxing fights of 2018 so far. And just spoiler alert, that fight, Saucedo versus Lenny Z, was in that list. And I can understand Saucedo wanting some more time, but hell, Hooker versus Saucedo as a co-main to Demetrius Andrade versus Billy Joe Saunders, that would have been nice. That would have been a good card booster, in my opinion. It's unfortunate. Though I will say this, on the plus side, if you're DAZN or Matchroom, you're not the one putting the money into this fight. Like, you have the 1.5 you offered up, now you have that to spend to somewhere else. And maybe you can spend it on a bigger name. Maybe there's a net positive for this if you're DAZN, but in the short term, in the immediate, this is not good. You sort of, I think, needed this fight in the fall schedule to really beef up your programming. And again, it's a guy you just signed in his first title defense. Now you don't have him on your network. He's fighting in his opponent's hometown. Like, objectively, that is just not good promoting. Or at least it's a slip up. I mean, I really don't know how to put it nicely. Like, it's not good. I think Top Rank, again, is acting very aggressively with all content heading forward. They just picked up, I forget what fight. I think it's like a IBF junior flyweight title fight for tomorrow. ESPN is picking up a lot of content. They're spending a lot of money on premium brands like Top Rank, like the UFC. DAZN, I think, in the short term, like I said, I think a couple weeks ago, they need this fall schedule where ESPN doesn't have the UFC yet, where they just have Top Rank. They needed to step on the throat of ESPN and all these networks and collect as much as possible. Throw as much money in these next 6 months that you can, because come January, ESPN's going to beat you out. Long term, they just have a better overall programming schedule. They just do right now, and at a lower cost. Like, you can't say we have the better content. You can't say that. Overall, ESPN Plus has the better content, and again at a lower cost. I think losing this fight is maybe not, like I said, the end all be all, but perhaps is indicative of where this battle is going. But like I've said, the net positive is that these guys are getting paid. You know, Hooker Saucedo would never get paid a $1.6 million split a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. That would have never happened with the way that paradigm of the sport was set up. It just wouldn't. Now it's completely different. Now there's literally hundreds of millions of dollars now infused into the industry per year that the fighters can now take up. That wasn't there before. Or at least it was, but it was only on one side. Now it's much more diverse. Now much more, there's many more players, I should say, that have these big budgets. It's no longer just Al Heyman with this big investing hedge fund that he has. It's now ESPN. It's now DAZN. There's a lot of players with huge bankrolls to throw around. But moving on from that, and still speaking of purse bids, this purse bid being canceled, Kubrat Pulev versus Henry Fury have informed the IBF that they have reached an agreement and their scheduled purse bid is now canceled. October 27th in Sofia, Bulgaria is the targeted date and location. No actual venue has been announced. So, yeah, it's all right. Like I said, I think this fight's a good fight for Henry Fury, especially. If Pulev comes out here and beats Henry Fury, I don't know really what's next for him. He's sort of been a guy that's been on the outside looking in for all these big fights. Henry Fury at least has that Fury name attached to him, and even though he may not be, the heaviest hitter, then maybe not the most exciting boxer to watch, especially for the heavyweight division, he still is a Fury in that cell. So if he is able to beat Pulev in I believe a title eliminator for the IBF, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if we can get a Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight in 2018, and then 2019 a Anthony Joshua Henry Fury fight. Like, that's just a possibility, especially with this matchup being announced. And speaking of UK, Tony Bailey versus Alexander Usyk. Eddie Hearn had a meeting with Alexander Krasuk from K2 and said that all the meetings have been going well, that all very positive meetings take place. This fight's happening. This fight's 100% happening. Just wanted to, keep reporting on it because it definitely seems like this fight went from just a possibility that seems sort of like a fantasy fight to, oh no, we're getting this. Usyk is jettisoning the cruiserweight division and moving to heavyweight potentially quite sooner than possible. Quite sooner than we thought, I would say. Rob saying Fury versus Briggs next. And I assume he's talking about Tyson Fury. No, that's not happening. Possibility, but I don't think it's happening. And another piece of news. The ghost from the past, Mr. Guillermo Rigondeaux, returning finally as he has left Rock Nation and Caribe Promotions and has joined Luis de Cubas Jr., who is the manager of Luis Ortiz, Ezra Delora, Vences Bartolome, etc., and closely tied to PBC. This basically solidifying the rumor that Guillermo Rigondeaux is heading over to the PBC Showtime sort of conglomerate. And I think that's probably a good thing. I think Rigondeaux against guys like Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, Carl Frampton, those are all fights that are possible with Rigondeaux closer to the PBC side of it. Just is. Gary Russell Jr., these are all more possible fights for Guillermo Rigondeaux. Maybe that might not be the best thing for him because those are hard fights. Those are tough fights for him at a weight class that he probably still shouldn't be fighting at. But there are big money fights on that stable for him to take. So good for Guillermo Rigondeaux. And also, I've sort of said this before, he's had issues with Rock Nations and Caribe Promotions for a very long time. I asked him about the subject, and it was a very sensitive matter, to say the least. So I'm glad he at least is getting away from that. So good for him. And hopefully we see Guillermo Rigondeaux back. Even though I know a lot of people are hating on him, a lot of people have sort of discounted him and discredited him since the Vasily Lomachenko loss. It is still Guillermo Rigondeaux. He was still the guy that was breaking people's jaws styling on Onito Donaire. I mean, come on. Stitching back, though, to sort of the DAZN, Showtime, ESPN battle. Miguel Berchelt versus Miguel Roman, most likely not landing on HBO per Miguel Rivera, or I should say, may not land on HBO. Don't want to misquote him. And I'm saying it's most likely not. Now, it's brought up that Showtime's sort of wanted this fight. Obviously, DAZN, Eddie Hearn, ESPN, etc. Everyone wants this fight. I wouldn't be surprised. First off, this fight will be most likely a very entertaining matchup that has Fight of the Year written all over it. And secondly, Miguel Berchelt is arguably still the best fighter at 130. Right? I mean, it's him, Tevin Farmer, Gervonta Davis if he makes weight, and who else? Lomachenko moved up. Like, it's really Miguel Berchelt's division if he wanted it to. And even then, again, Miguel Berchelt can move up to 135, and those are big fights for him. So if you're a network with a lot of money trying to fill up dates, first off, this is a fantastic fight that will produce exciting content for you to talk about. And secondly, Miguel Berchelt is a potential franchise boxer that you want to be attached to. So that's what I would do. And who gets him, I don't know. Definitely leave a comment below. I believe it's either going to be ESPN or DAZN. I don't think Showtime picks him up, just to be honest. They just don't have the budget, in my opinion, to compete with these two. Especially pick up an outside fight like that. It just makes no sense. And also switching back to purse bids, Ryota Moreta versus Robert Brandt, a.k.a. Toyota Corolla. Purse bid won by Greg Cohen Promotions for a purse bid of $202,000. Ryota Moreta is obviously promoted by Top Rank in some capacity. They put out 0 bids for this fight, leading a lot of speculation to Moreta vacating his WBA regular belt. We're going to get into the WBA later, but I mean, it is what it is. I think that was kind of I didn't like that matchup to begin with. That made 0 sense to me. I haven't seen or heard of Robert Brandt since he lost to Jürgen Brähmer in the World Boxing Super Series. Ryota Moreta has been beating cans over in Japan. I'm good. I'm good on that right now. Even speaking as a Toyota Corolla fan, like that matchup makes 0 sense to me, and him vacating a WBA regular belt means absolutely nothing to me as well. Just, be honest. Oscar Valdez leaving Manny Robles and hiring Eddie Reynoso, who is obviously Canelo Alvarez's trainer. I think this makes fantastic sense. Oscar Valdez being a Mexican Olympian twice, I believe in 2008 and 2012. That makes sense, right? Yeah, I don't think it was 2016. And Reynoso being the trainer of the biggest Mexican boxer right now makes a lot of sense. And plus, I think Oscar Valdez can use a lot of whatever is happening in that camp. Now, maybe Canelo is just that gifted with his head movement and his waist movement where his defensive acumen and just natural skill cannot be taught. And maybe it's not Eddie teaching him that. But if Oscar Valdez can get a 1/10 of that head movement from Canelo, his game is improved. That is the one thing that Valdez has been lacking is defense. And that especially showed in the Scott Quick fight. And also, I know he didn't say anything really bad about Manny Robles in any of this split up or at all, but Manny Robles has had some real difficulty with some of his fighters recently in terms of them taking punishment. Them not being able to defensively deal with fighters. Jesse Magdaleno versus Isaac Dogbe is one of them. Dominic Brazil is one that happens a lot of the time. That just defensively is not there. That offensively, they have the skill that they can fight on the inside, good combination work, but outside of that, there's not much to their game. And Oscar Valdez, a guy that is an Olympian, a guy that has that pedigree, that skill naturally in him, that I think went to a camp that probably wasn't the best for him long term. Similar to Michael Collin. Michael Collin's an Olympic Did he medal? I don't think he medaled. I could be wrong. He might have won bronze. Olympic standout, I should say. He came over to Manny Robles, and I think he fought to the detriment of his overall skill set, his overall talent, and he left. And I think even though I think we've sort of realized where his overall ceiling is, which has always been my opinion of him, I think he looks better now. I think he looks much more comfortable in there. And again, he's just boxing more. He's not forcing it more. He's not trying to be this offensive, come forward, aggressive puncher, which he just isn't. And Valdez was a guy that for a long time was just that aggressive, come forward, trying to knock you out fighter. And I think at the highest level, he can't do that. That obviously showed with Scott Quigg. So I think moving to another camp makes complete sense for him. And also I've been a fan of Oscar Valdez for a long time. I remember him coming up as a young pro and knowing that he has the skill. And I think maybe a transition to an Eddie Reynoso and Canelo makes a lot of sense. And I think being around greatness like that can only help. Iron sharpens iron. Speaking of iron, Maya St. John comes clean on use of PEDs in an estimated 20 fights. This news kind of took the boxing world by storm. And if you don't know who Maya St. John is, she was a boxer from late 90s to, I think like a couple years ago she even boxed. But basically she had her run in the late 90s and early 2000s. Was known for her looks, etc. And she's come out and basically said, like I've said in the title, she has used PEDs for 20 fights. And people freaked out. And do I have the soundbite here, or did I delete it? Oh, please tell me I didn't delete it. Man, I might have deleted it. That is so sad. Man. Oh, well. I was going to play the Everyone's on Steroids soundbite, but I don't have it. Damn. But anyways, digressing. I just, it is what it is. I think that people need to sort of come to the awareness that PD use is rampant in this sport. That a vast majority of athletes, and I shouldn't say in this sport, all sports, the sporting culture overall in the world, steroid use and PED use is rampant. And the current system we have is not really adequate to deal with it. It just isn't. I think there's holes in the system. There's gaps in the system. I think the system overextends on itself sometimes as well. The entire PED regulatory system we have and paradigm we have completely needs to have reform. It is what it is. I think talking about such, like the clean boxing program for the WBC, that's a step in the right direction, but that's not even the solution. It is what it is. And quickly, before I move on to any other topic, Legendary Boxer, I think your caps lock is broken in the chat, by the way. Just so you know. But moving on to the fights from this weekend, Joseph Diaz obviously beating Jesus Rojas on Facebook. And the last time I checked, the stream had like 4.6, 4.7 million views, I believe. And I checked that, I think, yesterday. So God knows what it's at now. But even though it obviously received a lot of criticism for the stream dropping out, and, that happens, I think, especially in the transition we have to live sports, to streaming, I think the streaming industry has to sort of adjust to bandwidth usage, etc. I know Adam over at TBV reported that was the main issue as to why the stream went down for 4 rounds. But that's going to happen in this transition period. We're going to get times like that where fights, all of a sudden, boom, you have 100,000, 200,000 people watching it at once, and it drops off. That might happen, especially with Facebook. Like, people don't know, Facebook is a much poorer system for streaming than, let's say, YouTube, or even ESPN. I would say, like, it doesn't have that in it. Just from my understanding of what happens usually, Facebook streams are much more likely to go down than YouTube streams. It's just common sense. YouTube's owned by Google. Is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to try to be nice in this sort of review of the fight. Joseph Diaz, to me, kind of reverted back to form. And that form, to me, was always my perception of Joseph Diaz as a sort of volume puncher, some good skill, but nothing out of the world, no insane power, no insane athleticism, and a decent cardio tank. And having, above average technique and above average skill with average athleticism, average cardio, and all that can get you pretty far in this game, especially if you're tough, especially being a southpaw. And Jesus Rojas, a guy that usually is a very slow starter, was not a slow starter this night. And he went at Joseph Diaz. Even though I thought Joseph Diaz clearly won the fight, it was competitive. He had to sort of work for it. And in the version of Joseph Diaz we saw that was walking down Gary Russell, seeming to be this much bigger opponent that had all this power, he came in against Jesus Rojas, and against Jesus Rojas, who's far lesser skilled than Gary Russell. To me, not a journeyman, that's sort of rude of Rojas, but a regional guy. He's a regional fighter that you sort of plug in as a B-side to these guys on the come-up or as a tune-up. He's that guy. He has no power behind him, has no real skills, and be in your face and try to throw combinations to your body, old school Mexican style. And Joseph Diaz just did that. He just fought that fight, and he kind of looked poor and average to me. I shouldn't say poor. He should look definitely average in his fight to me. And coming off the heels of, even though he lost against Gary Russell, I think his stock rose a lot for most of us in the Gary Russell fight. This was weird. This was a revert back to form, or back to the public opinion I think a lot of us had of Joseph Diaz. And I don't know where he goes next. I think, and obviously on top of that, him missing weight, it's just, I think him moving up to 130 would be probably beneficial. It is what it is. So, the prospect saying, gotta sleep, Matt. Keep doing you, bro. Peace, everyone. Peace, prospect. Good night. We're going to head over into, one more boxing topic of the day, and then we're going to get into, actually, like one and a half. And this one is very quick. Trevor Bryan knocking out BJ Flores in 4 rounds, winning the WBA interim strap, I believe. Yes, the interim strap. All I'll say is Trevor Bryan, if you do not know, is promoted by Don King. So, it is what it is, right? Like, that kind of makes it pretty obvious, in my opinion, how he got that shot, not only against BJ Flores, but for that belt. Hilarious. Let's move over to this Dillashaw-Gervonta Davis stuff, because I know I touched on it slightly on Friday when they were first starting, and it's one of those things where, and by the way, for anyone those out there listening, we're going to transition to MMA basically with this topic. So when we do fully transition to MMA, it's going to be kind of seamless. So just so you know, T. Dillashaw telling Gervonta Davis to ask Daddy Mayweather for permission to take the UFC fight. This shit's kind of hilarious to me. Like, all of it's just hilarious. Like, it's both corny and just comical. If you're watching on YouTube, you're looking at the tweets right now, how it started. And I kind of touched on how it started on Friday. And it's just funny to me. Like, it's Gervonta Davis saying, let's make it happen, then Pussy, and TJ Dillashaw saying, love it how you have to stay relevant by running your mouth instead of what you have accomplished in boxing. Your record as padded as a push-up bra. You're only relevant because of your daddy Mayweather. Never heard of a champ not ready to fight another champ. That was good. That was good. That was really funny. But yeah, it's just, to me, it's funny. And then obviously, you know, this article doesn't show it, but Gervonta Davis coming out and saying, like, it's not T. Dillashaw, it's some guy named John, which is hilarious to me, and that he's Lomachenko's social media guy. Another funny shit, like, just transitioned to me to what, like, the storyline was. But Dwayne saying Tank started it, right? Yeah, Tank did start it. And then we have this. This is great. T. Dillashaw.
Gervonta Davis, what's up, my man? I catch you talking shit online without tagging me, and then I call you out, and now you want to act like it's not even me you're talking to. Man, it's just pathetic. Let's get this done. I'm ready. Bring it. Gervonta Davis, what's up, my man?
Yo, starting out like a call out or some shit talk like, yo, what's up, my man? Like, in the most cordial, casual way you can is hilarious. God, it's fucking hilarious. It, like, this all is funny to me. Like, the corniness of it. You know, the fact that it could happen. Like, we had Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Like, is it really out of the realm to put TJ Dillashaw versus Gervonta Davis on pay-per-view and get 400,000 or 500,000 pay-per-view buys? Is it really? I don't think so. I think they're thinking about it because obviously they've been pushing it. You know, it's been going on for 3 days, 4 days now. Like, definitely something to it. But I will say this: it's obviously not just Gervonta Davis. TJ Dillashaw has been going on a media circuit with his now contemporary. No, that's not really the right word. Potential foe? I don't know. Anyways, he's been going on a media circuit with new flyweight UFC champion Henry Cejudo, and making 2 sort of media appearances and talking about it. Let's get into it.
What you asked for, brother?
Now look, we got from you. This is a cool moment right here because we got 2 UFC champions right here, very, very dedicated, and they're talking to each other right here. Now, obviously, y'all respect each other, but you feel very confident
Always.
if the fight were to happen.
Absolutely, I'll run through him, taking that belt right off his shoulder.
Right, and Henry, you have no
you ain't
problems.
taking my baby.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's
I'll
the
come to
gold.
your house and take it.
It's the golden rule. The guy with the gold makes sure. I got more gold than you, brother.
Both you guys all got gold right here, so.
I know. I got more gold than you. Know that.
How would you approach it? How would y'all approach it?
How would I approach it? I'd knock him out.
All right, that's to the point. Henry.
The last time you fought a flyweight, you got knocked out. Remember that?
Never fought flyweight.
Do you imagine the last time you fought a flyweight?
No, please.
You got knocked out.
Please. Early in my career. We all take losses early in our career.
You're gonna get it.
Yep.
You're gonna get it. I hope you do. I hope either you come down or go up.
I'm coming down to you. I'm taking that right off your shoulder.
That's mine, baby.
I gotta be there. I got the first round there. All right, on that.
What was that? That was so cringy, and it gets worse. It gets worse. They were over at TMZ. I think it's TMZ. Yeah, it's TMZ. Good old TMZ. They had this little moment as well.
Fighter run right through you.
No, I'm a different fighter, man. You know that. I can tell you respect me.
Yeah, I got respect for you.
I can tell you.
Gold medalist. I can't wait to take that too. I'll take it off you.
The laugh at the end. Oh, that was too good. This is all just, I don't like any of it. Like, I don't want T. Dillashaw versus Gervonta Davis. I don't want Henry Cejudo. Like, obviously, the industry in some way, shape, or form is pushing the super fight in some way, right? Obviously, the UFC has been in super fight mode for the last couple years, where everything they want to do is a super fight. And in their mind, it's going to be Gervonta Davis or Henry Cejudo, when it should be Rafael Sunsao or Marlon Moraes. It should be one of those opponents. And plus, God, this is just so cringeworthy. God, that was so bad. But hey, salute to them, because you gotta generate hype somehow. And I will say this. Obviously, we're going to get to the UFC pay-per-view numbers, which have come out as well. And they're decent. They're decent. T.J. Dillashaw is not necessarily trending, but I've noticed within the community, he's talked about on a much more regular basis. I think a lot of people, not only in the MMA industry, but just the combat sports industry, were paying attention to Cody Garbrandt versus T.J. Dillashaw too. And I think that's obviously reflective in the pay-per-view not doing nearly as bad as what we thought it was going to do. And plus the gate being the best gate in UFC history at Staples Center, over 3-point-something million at the gate, and then per Dave Meltzer over at MMA Fighting, pay-per-view buy rate was 300,000 pay-per-view buys. And to put this in perspective, the big super fight this year for the UFC, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic 2, the light heavyweight champion versus the heavyweight champion, and the two most valuable belts in sort of UFC history usually, and that did like 380,000 pay-per-view buys. And these two fights that are probably obviously low in terms of market cost because, again, Demetrius Johnson was the highest paid fighter on this card when he fought Henry Cejudo. Got paid under $400,000. And again, to put that in comparison, Alex Saucedo is making 25% of the purse bid. That top rank one is getting $400,000. There's obviously a huge difference in the amount of money boxers are making at the top versus MMA fighters at the top. But that's a rabbit hole in and of itself. And also, this is the second highest pay-per-view buy rate of a UFC pay-per-view headlined by a bantamweight champion or a flyweight champion. The first being the second Dominic Cruz versus Uriah Faber fight at UFC 132. But this is the second one. Jonathan St. Matt, did Miocic versus Ngannou do less? I believe it did. I believe that did like 275. I could check that up when we go to callers and I have time to search it. But pay-per-view buy rates have been down, and this doing 300,000 is probably an overall positive, especially when added to the enormous gate revenue they got, which was, not only absurd, but completely out of the blue. So T.J. Dillashaw is moving in the right direction in terms of stardom, I would say. These buys are reflective of that. The gate's reflective of that. Who he's being talked about in the media, how much he's in the media. I think it's all sort of an upward trend for Mr. Dillashaw. But speaking of actually downward trend, longtime UFC vet Gleason Tebow parts ways with UFC after 28 Octagon appearances, and I think still being known as the guy with the largest weight cut in UFC history. Guy was like studied by Stanford or UCLA or some absurd thing. I believe he cut over 30 plus pounds. Like he weighed in like over 185 and cut down to 155. Insane. But to digress, just obviously indicative of extreme weight cutting, and Gleason Tebow being one of those guys that has been a perennial top 15 guy forever. Just want to say, salute to him for his UFC career, a career that probably will not get talked about that much. But speaking of UFC careers that are probably short but should be talked about, Eddie Alvarez and Scott Coker saying Bellator would love to talk to Eddie if able. Eddie Alvarez losing his fight against Dustin Poirier in the rematch and now being a free agent. Where would he go next? I don't know. I think Bellator makes a lot of sense for Eddie. I think they could probably offer more money up front, to be honest, than the UFC will. But I think Eddie in the UFC makes vastly more sense. But we will see what happens next for probably one of the top 5 lightweights of all time. And before we head into our last couple topics, remember, call in 323-870-4051 if you want to debate, talk about the sport, whatever, talk about these topics. Legendary Boxer, I see you talking a lot of shit in the chat. You can call in. 323-870-4051. Press 1 if you want to get in the queue. And we're going to head into these last couple topics before we head into the callers. And I just want to say, for once in my life, I agree with Brendan Schaub. He had some choice words for the UFC for putting marketing money behind Greg Hardy and not Nick Newell. And for those that don't really understand that, Greg Hardy obviously being a person that has been tied with domestic violence, Nick Newell being sort of an inspirational story within the sport for being a one-armed fighter, basically, and being a top 20, not top 20, top 30 lightweight in the world. And I agree. Like, that's just indicative of what the UFC does. I forget who said this. I want to say it was Chuck Mendahal on the MMA Beat, but I feel like I could be wrong. I feel like it could be like TJ DeSantis and Jeff Sherwood at Behind the Rounds or Between the Rounds podcast. I forget who said this, but the UFC overall walking back their like morality clause in their contracts when, let's say 5+ years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe about 7 years ago, there was this fighter code of conduct clause that was implemented because there was a bunch of issues going around. UFC was reacting to it, basically firing fighters, giving out suspensions, punishments, etc. Matt Mitrione calling transgender fighter Fallon Fox. A list of things led to that, I think, in some capacity. Thiago Silva led to that in some capacity with his domestic violence issues. And his just overall craziness. I forget what happened with him, but there was a bunch of events that led to this code of conduct. But nowadays, you have a UFC fighter throwing a dolly through a bus and injuring people and making fights fall through, and they're getting pay-per-view headlines. Greg Hardy, I don't know if he's convicted. I don't want to speak because I don't have exact knowledge on it. But tied to domestic violence, he's getting a ton of money invested into him. He's been a key fixture of UFC Fight Pass lately. Again, just interesting to see I don't know, where this is going, so to speak, or where the money is put in. And I think Brendan Schaub is completely right with what his criticism of the UFC and who they choose to invest in. And last news of the day before we head into callers, AJ McKee, who was signed up to fight Pat Curran in Bellator 205 main event. Pat Curran getting injured and fighting now Jason Teixeira. Damn, that fucking sucks. That is just a huge letdown. But it is what it is. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the news. We're going to head into the callers. Again, 323-870-4051. Call in, press 1 if you want to join in the conversation. Heading out to a 706 number. I believe this might be a Legendary Boxer, but I feel like I could be wrong. If it's not, I don't want to offend anyone.
What's going on, Matt?
What's up?
Yeah, it is Legendary Boxer.
How you doing, man?
How come you didn't put Eddie Hearn losing the bid in the title, man? Come on. This fucking guy's been going around telling everybody he's coming over to America with $1 billion, going to take over America. These Yanks don't know how to promote and shit. I mean, how come? This should be the league title, or no?
No, because people like Deontay Wilder, Pacquiao are bigger names.
Yeah, what is Pacquiao doing right now? Pacquiao's not really doing much. I hear him always has those meetings. It's nothing special. But
I'll put it this way: very quickly. You are right that the Saucedo Hooker news is more like concrete news, like it's probably news we can talk about, debate more. But Manny Pacquiao, hold on, Manny Pacquiao is still a mega star on the internet. So for SEO purposes, when Manny Pacquiao's in the news, he's going to be in the title.
Yeah. Yeah, his name will get some good clicks. I'm sure he's got some loyal fans. Mm-hmm. But did you discuss the purse bid? Eddie losing the purse bid again? This is his third purse bid he's losing recently.
Yes, I did talk about it.
Third in a row.
What was the three? Just refresh me.
White versus Pulev, Miller versus Pulev. And I also heard he lost a fucking measly $20,000 purse bid for Kid Galahad in England. So I don't know what's going on with these guys. $20,000 purse bid for a Euro title or something. He lost that too, which is kind of weird. Why not just win it? But
I did talk about it. Just to answer your question, I did talk about it. I'll cut it up later if you want to watch it later.
I'll need to restart the show. But I heard Rigo's on the way to PBC because he's talking to that Luis de Cubas Jr. guy. I guess he works for PBC and the Heyman's Cuban guys. He's going over there.
Yes, I talked about that as well.
Gone to Eddie. I would like Rigo to go to Eddie because he'd keep him more active, right? I think so.
I don't know. I think activity is not the issue. I think opponents is the issue. And I think PBC makes more sense.
But PBC does PBC have opponents for him? Like who do they have?
I think
what does he fight at?
I think if he's smart, because obviously he's towards the end of his career. Let's be honest, he stays at he goes to 126 and tries to get the Leos, the Abners, the Gary Russells, that sort of stable of fighters at that division, and makes some money. Because 122 and 118 makes 0 sense, and honestly, I don't think Heyman has that many guys in those divisions. 126 makes a lot of sense.
And he moved up to 130 for Loma, right? That was when he moved up 130?
Yes, that was 130.
What if he wanted to move up for Tank? What if he wanted to move for Tank for 130? I think Tank would knock his ass out way faster. Way faster.
I mean, probably, but Tank's obviously a naturally bigger fighter as well with more natural power. Like, Tank's a knockout artist. Loma's not.
Have you seen him recently? He's looking really fat and sloppy drunk in a couple of videos. Like really drunk.
He's not fighting.
Fucking retarded.
He's not fighting. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I've never seen him drunk before. Like the last few fights now, he's been acting drunk and shit with Broner. It's kind of sad. Also, Danny Porter. Do you know anything about the undercard there?
What about the undercard?
Do you know anything about it? Who's on it?
Not off the top of my head.
Konaki Martin was rumored, but that kind of sounds shitty. I hope it's not that.
Hey, it's Return of the God, man. Charles Martin.
Also, man, that fucking Caleb Plain guy pulled out of the Jose Oscarigui fight. Did you hear that?
He had a hand injury. Yeah,
I don't believe that guy because I thought he was going to get whooped up. So maybe he's having second thoughts. I don't know.
Really?
I think he was going to get. Yeah.
Not about him getting beat by Uzgatski. I can probably agree that Uzgatski should be the favorite in that fight, but Caleb Plant, just from my interactions with him, has never seen the type to be worried about his career. He's always made the implication to me that Heyman is very, I'm not going to use the word controlling, but there's a like almost big father or big brother vibe with Heyman and him. That's the way that he's always implied it to me. So I just see it as Heyman being very controlling of his career and making sure that he does the right thing. Now, with this injury, I believe him. If somebody's injuring their hand, there's no reason to talk about that. If to lie about that.
What do you think about Kid Chocolate versus Oscarigui? Do you think that's a better chance of them PBC winning that belt?
No.
I don't. More power?
No. Uzgatski beats Peter Quillen easily. And nowadays.
Him and Alvarez are the fucking most underrated dark horses in boxing, I think, this year, right? They probably had breakout years. It was Oscarigui and Alvarez after the knockout. Those two guys.
Them and Jaime Munguia. Those three had huge breakout years this year.
Yeah. Munguia, too.
Anything else there, legendary boxer?
All right, man. That's all. Thanks for letting me call in. I'll call next time again. What days do you do shows?
Sorry about that. I was already pressing the mute button. I do shows Monday through Friday live at the same time every day. So it makes it very easy for everyone. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK. And we have a podcast on Patreon live on Sunday, same time as that, called Championship Rounds Podcast. Obviously, that podcast, obviously, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio help support the show and get that extra podcast. Make sure you guys go and check out the video I did yesterday, top 10 boxing fights of 2018 so far. And, like Legendary Boxer, said, he obviously came in later to the show, missed some topics. I am going to start clipping topics and putting them out later. So if you do not want to listen to the whole show, I don't blame you. It's okay. People are busy. I'm going to put out individual topics later on in the day. But obviously that means you can't get it as quickly as you may want on some of your news. But that seems to be it. I see Santiago on the line, but he hasn't pressed 1. So I assume he's either busy or working. But I may start up the outro. If you want to get in, this is your time. to get in the last second. Remember, 323-870-4051. But otherwise, we're going to head on out of here. Sort of final thoughts, wrapping it up. Manny Pacquiao, Bob-Arum. I think that relationship is kind of dead, to be quite honest. I don't see them getting back together in the way they used to in terms of Bob-Arum being the sole promoting right. He may facilitate some deals for him in the U.S., but that's probably the extent of what it is. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder heading to Belfast, all that good drama. It's, at the very least, it's the greatest troll job of the last 20 years in boxing, and that in and of itself is entertaining. Is what it is. Top Rank beating out DAZN for the purse bid, or I should say ESPN. Really, we all know it's Top Rank versus Matchroom, but it's really DAZN versus ESPN, and ESPN winning it out. Like I've said, not a good move in the short term. You know, the best thing they can hope for if you're DAZN is that you use that $1.5 million you put up for it to something else. Maybe you were lacking just enough funds to sign that one fighter for that one fight. Now you have $1.5 million you're willing to spend on this fight. You can spend somewhere else. But like I've said, UFC content. Oh, whoa, hold on. I gotta stop the music for this guy. Gotta stop it for this guy, Mr. Bugatti, who, I mean, criminally does not have an intro. But Bugatti, how are you doing, man?
What's up, dude? I just wanted to call and say, call sounds good. Everything sounds good. I'm excited that you're up and running.
Thank you, Fu. Any opinions on the news? Anything? Or just want to say hi?
I mean, I came in late, but I'm guessing we're talking Matchroom getting outbid by Top Rank.
Yes. You missed a Legendary Boxer's call. You missed a Legendary Boxer's call. That was fun.
I bet that's the only time Legendary Boxer was a fan of Bob-Arum. and not just to throw some shade at Eddie. But yeah, no, I mean, I think, but that's like four bidding wars he's lost or something recently.
It's a lot.
So it's like people are trying to block him pretty hard out of the U.S., huh?
I don't think it's people, or at least I don't think that is a conscious move by the industry in the U.S. to block him. I just think it's now a different industry. Like when he probably first was working for Matchroom, like when Matchroom USA first launched with Daniel Jacobs and such a year and a half ago, like does ESPN Plus wasn't really a thing. Like them having a $50 million plus budget for boxing wasn't a thing. Them acquiring the UFC and being a real competitor streaming-wise to what they were planning wasn't really there yet. That wasn't set in stone. So I think...
Yeah, that's true.
I think Eddie and DAZN are now in a situation here where they have a massive rival and competitor with ESPN and Top Rank with a huge budget and a product that is half the cost. Like they are going to have to really be creative here on what they or how they sort of win out this battle. And maybe they don't win it. Maybe they're okay with being the number 2 in that streaming market, and maybe they can, make money doing it, create a profit doing it. That's possible, but they're definitely behind the ball here in terms of being that product, that leading industry, trendsetter for streaming. ESPN is winning out right here, and I don't know really how they change it up here because this first 6 months is where they were supposed to run train on everything and have all the money they're around, and they don't, apparently.
Yeah, I think Eddie underestimated how much American promoters would do to keep their foothold on American boxing, right? Like he came out like, I've got all this money, all these people are going to come over here and sign with me. And then everyone went like, oh, hold on, we've got money too. We just haven't been using,
Or they have money and they've been using it, but we aren't privy to that. Like Eddie Eddie announcing to the public that Mike Garcia gets paid $3 million basically per fight is insane. That means he got paid like 2 times his guaranteed purse in the Robert Easter fight. That level of a backroom check was, I think, even unheard of. Not unheard of, but was skeptical of. Like, we knew that big fighters got maybe 7-figure paychecks in the back room. I've been told that by PBC champions. That's not out of the question, but twice your guarantee pay. You know, so in reference, you know, a Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, both guys got paid $2 million on paper for that fight. They were probably paid $6 million plus each for that fight, and we just don't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the struggle is like you might be right there. Like, you know, in a lot of industries, you either choose. You're either gonna like dump all your money in on the front and just try to come out like guns blazing, but he doesn't have the fighters. So I think he's going to have to like almost just say, okay, well, we're going to be the second best streaming service for the next like year. Then we're going to line up some good fighters and really pump everything we have into it, or just throw a lot of money at like a different event, like a Joshua event or something, right? Just to really load it up and get a lot of subscriptions. But he doesn't have the fighters that Top Rank has. You know, that's his struggle right now. You know.
Or the brand awareness.
And with ESPN. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They don't have Arum's so big in the US, you know. And Arum's, you know, got Lomachenko, who's, you know, just growing like crazy on his like stardom. He's got Crawford. Like, he's got, you know, 2 of the like top 5 pound-for-pound boxers right now, right? So it's really hard to just think that he's not going to win, you know, with that, especially at, you know, $3 a month or something.
Plus, it's $5 a month, and plus that ESPN, Disney, ABC conglomerate. That's a giant. That's a fucking giant. That's hard to kill.
Yeah, and all the old fights, like that's something people brought up that, like, you know, the hardcores are really going to buy into. Like, if I can go watch a lot of those old classic fights, or, you know, like, I want to pay for that. You know, I think some of those fights I've never seen, or, you know, you get a YouTube stream or something that's like YouTube video that's not that great or something, but if you can go back and watch that. So I think it is going to be a struggle for DAZN initially. I think they're going to put on good shows, and like what I'm hoping for is, like, no one thought the card in the UK was going to be good. You know, like, everyone was bitching, like, oh, this is a pay-per-view and this sucks, right? And then all the fights ended up being very entertaining, and people loved it. So I think we're going to see that, where, like, there's good matchups, and it's just a fun night of boxing, and it's just going to be more nights of boxing. So there'll probably be some breakout stars in that setting that we may not have thought about, or some reemergences of, like, really good fights. So I don't know. I think it'll be good. But, yeah, and then I guess you talked about Dillashaw and Tank Davis.
Yeah. Yeah, those two.
TJ is going to whoop his ass if he gets in the octagon.
Of course.
But
vice versa. I mean, Gervonta Davis knocks out TJ Dillashaw within 2 rounds if it's boxing. Like, it's absurd. I put it this way: TJ Dillashaw and their pay-per-view event that they just did, doing 300,000 pay-per-view buy, is the second highest pay-per-view buy rate for a bantamweight title fight in UFC history. It's a good sign for a TJ. Like, he, in terms of like marketability or just overall awareness, people are sort of now being aware of TJ. It's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, he had, you know, the sparring with Lomachenko. That I know that was really cool, and I know he mentioned, you know, how crazy skillful boxers were, and I mean, he had brought that up, and I think that's some of the Tank Davis stuff, is that Tank, you know, just has this hatred for Lomachenko, so, you know, why not go after, you know, Dillashaw, and, you know, who's like, you know, Lomachenko's kind of bigged up, like, in a lot of his fights and stuff, so it seems like there's a little bit of a rivalry there that isn't going to go away anytime soon. But yeah, man, show sounds great. I love seeing the numbers grow, and so quality sounds good on the calls. So, and I'll get an intro eventually.
Yeah, make Rob make you
play
one.
The duck one though if you want.
DJ Robbie Hearns can make you one, man. Come on, you know that.
Yeah, I talked to him about it. I need to get him to throw one together, but yeah, man. But I'll let you get off here. It looked like you had already been running for about 58 minutes or something. So.
All right, man. You have a good one.
You too. All right.
All right, guys. That is gonna be it for today. Thank you for Legendary Boxer, for Gotti, for calling in. Remember, you too can call in anytime. It's absolutely free if you're in the U.S. I think in Canada too. I could be wrong about Canada, but who knows? Hashtag Matt Stats. But yes, you can find me, Matt the Hipster Hunter, Matt Hunter MCR, all platforms. Mixed Combat Radio, all platforms. Like MB says, sayonara. Be back tomorrow. Same time as always, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK, live on YouTube, podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. Basically, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find us. If you're listening on YouTube and you want some help trying to find out podcasts, hit me up. mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. Want to be a part of this in any way? You either want to write articles, produce content for our YouTube channel, be a part of the show, whatever it may be, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to come support the movement and also be a part of it. Patreon.com/mixedcombatradio and all the other stuff. You know what it is. Be back, like I said, tomorrow, and obviously Saturday, live fight chat. Tyson Fury, Carl Frampton. Are we going to get sort of a part 2 to when Tyson Fury hopped in the ring with Deontay Wilder? I cannot wait for that. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Be back later. And have a good day. Peace.